Let's bring in Lauren Fix. She's a longtime industry analyst who's also known as the car coach. And Chris Garcia, he's the CEO of Vicker Financial and a former Trump administration official. Lauren, Ford said this year that the tariffs on steel and aluminum has cost them $1 billion. So fair to assume it's the same for General Motors?
Well, I really don't believe that this is all about tariffs. The reason that GM is doing what Ford and what FCA did over a year ago was because let's just look at consumer demand. Consumers want SUVs. They don't want sedans. And a year ago, FCA said, we're going to cut back on our production. 6 months ago, actually 7 months ago, Ford said that. And at that time, General Motors said, we're going to stick with sedans. It's the way to go. That's what people want. And the fact is they never balanced out what consumers want based on what they're producing. Now, maybe tariffs are a piece of this puzzle, but the truth is GM's fault is they didn't move quick enough. And if you look at their valuation in total, it's worse now than it was after their bankruptcy. They've got a lot of things to correct back in Detroit.
Chris, do you agree with President Trump that it's as simple as GM putting a new, more popular model in some of these factories like the one in Lordstown, Ohio?
Well, the president's right in that, this is, I'll start first by saying that the story really that's not being reported today is that consumers prefer and consumer demand is increasing for SUVs and electric vehicles, which, on a price per unit basis, on average, I would say, and Lauren may know the actual statistics on this, but those are higher cost units than sedans. In fact, the story may be that the Trump economy is so good that consumers can now afford SUVs.
Well, Chris, I will grant you the SUVs really are more popular. But again, Chris, to my question, I grant you that these sedans that are being made at this factory are not as popular. But do you support President Trump when he says it's as simple as them putting in a new model in the same factory? Does it really work that way?
Well, we all know that private sectors are going to make their economic decisions based on what's good for the bottom line, public companies, what's good for shareholders. I think the president can do what he can to return manufacturing and shift it away from the Southeast Asian region and back to the North American continent, kind of reorienting the supply chain, if you will, through some of the policies that he's implemented. But really, again, these short-term tariffs and this short-term tariff negotiation tactic, if you will, is really designed to do just that, to boost production in North America, boost production in the United States. And we've already seen some of the effects of his policies when we've had 400,000 manufacturing jobs already come back to the United States.
Well, Chris, I'm going to follow up on that in just a sec, but I want to try to get, I'll follow up with you on that in just a sec. But Lauren, I want to try to get an answer from you. Is it as simple as a factory simply changing models as President Trump says?
Well, it is not that simple. In reality, some of the product is being produced in Mexico. Yes, they could transfer the tooling up to the U.S., but right now, Mary Barra is saying that their future is in autonomous vehicles and electric vehicles, even though the Chevy Volt is one of the vehicles that are going away. What they're looking to do is to produce more EVs, electric vehicles, and yes, there'll be 20 new vehicles coming. Whether consumers want them or not, I don't think they do. If you look at the total sales right now, less than 2% of total sales are electric vehicles. So putting an electric vehicle in that plant would also be a mistake. The smartest thing they could do is transfer some of their truck construction there or maybe some SUV construction, but they've got to rearrange some of the products that they have. That's why they're cutting back. Literally every brand is losing some models.
Now, Chris, as far as the Trump economy, which you were mentioning a moment ago, on July the 25th, 2017, President Trump spoke in Youngstown, Ohio, about the factories, including the one in Lordstown, which is now being idled. President Trump told his supporters, quote, "Don't sell your house. Do not sell it. We're going to get those values up. We're going to get those jobs coming back." He was wrong, wasn't he?
Well, I mean, he was right because you've got so much wealth that's been created in their 401ks.
Come on, Chris.
Being up 40%, but you also have over a million jobs that are open. You don't have enough Americans to fill these jobs. I mean, think about that. Think about it, though. I mean, and the report, by the way, from the Associated Press said that these blue-collar workers could be laid off, but that they could also be shifted to some of the other production plants.
So maybe President Trump should have said, Chris, maybe the president should have said, hey, maybe you should consider selling your job. Maybe we'll get those values up. No, the president said, do not sell your house. Do not sell it. We're going to get those values up. He said jobs were coming back. Today, we've gotten a report that GM, the biggest automaker, may be taking jobs out of Ohio. Do you see a disconnect there?
Well, you also see that there are more jobs available than Americans to fill them, and I think that applies to states like Ohio. I mean, for the fact that they are still looking to hire individuals that are proficient in the autonomous vehicles, that are skilled at electric vehicle manufacturing and engineering, those are great paying jobs. And frankly, I think
they are great paying jobs if, in fact, the automakers are able to transform the workforce. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They are great paying jobs if GM and others are willing to transform their workforce. But Lauren, is that something that the automakers are investing in right now?
Absolutely. We have a huge shortage in technicians, skilled workers, people that can work with electric vehicles. Let me tell you, Chris is right in reality. You may not believe this. I'm taking the politics out of it. I don't cover politics. I cover automotive. But I will tell you right now, we have a huge shortage in technicians, people that are skilled workers. And so there are jobs available. Look at all the supply companies that are out there. And I happen to have some of them in my hometown. We can't find people. There's tons of jobs out there. You have to look for them. So it's not about suddenly pulling out one brand and the plant's going to go bad. Something will take that place. That plant is not going to suddenly go dormant. There will always be something to fill it.
I agree, but maybe that's an argument for the federal government getting involved, perhaps the president himself, and helping to figure out how to retrain some of these workers who are losing these jobs in these legacy factories, and to try to help train them how to build the sort of high-tech vehicles that may be coming in the future ones. Lauren Fix and Chris Garcia, we got to leave it there. Thank you both for coming in. We appreciate it.